you did that you were flown to, that you work internationally? Because I know you've worked outside of Venice and Treviso.
Sì.
Well, maybe you want to do a little introduction.
Sì.
If you want to do a little introduction for people that are listening.
About
yourself.
Okay.
Where are you from?
Sure. So yeah, I'm Matteo Demayda, and I'm a photographer and focused on kind of projects, long-term project, I can say, about environment and social causes. And I live in Venice, in the northeast of Italy, and I'm focused also on projects that are in the northeast of Italy, especially in Venice. It's my place, but also I think there is a lot to say, especially in Venice. I mean, I have a strong connection with Venice, and it's, Venice, it's a symbol somehow of the over tourism, and then the environment. It's very important, so I think there is a lot of space to say something. I think my work is divided in kind of two main paths. That one is assignments. I work a lot with magazine, so I kind of receive the assignment that is 1 day or half day of a portrait of architecture. The other side, it's my kind of more personal projects that are more longer, and sometimes they start from a news, but I don't feel a journalist. But also, if the project starts from a news, I don't like the approach. For myself, I speak the kind of too daily approach, too journalistic approach, but I like to focus more on the context or the causes or the consequences of something. Like, for example, tell me, I can go on, but
It's fine. I think we can. You go on, and then I'll ask.
Okay.
There's a lot of things in the things you said that I have questions and stuff.
Okay. So like I understood that I'm having a collaboration with the scientific institution like universities, because I feel like they have some rules. Like, they kind of create some rules of research, of solutions, and I like to use these as a base for my research. I feel more free to move inside this kind of grid, scientific grid, and it's a way also for me to discover something. So I like this kind of. I like also to mix my pictures with their material, scientific material, archival material. I don't know if I defined my work well, but this is kind of what I feel. This is what my work is.
Yeah, I think you define. I think it is what I imagine, and I think those two are the things. When I was looking at your work and when I think about your work, for me there's two elements. One is the local and the international. Yeah, your work, I feel like there's something about Venice and Treviso, but also especially Venice, that has that duality between the super local.
You wanna join us?
Yeah.
You wanna join the conversation?
Yeah, if he wants to join.
Free to decide.
Yep. Oh, no, maybe not. Too much effort. Vieni un po' più vicino.
Sì.
Ui. So anyways, sorry. Now I feel, because I was walking down the street now Tuesday in Venice, and when did you move to Venice for the first time? How old were you?
I mean, I'm now 40, and I was born in Treviso, so I had always a relationship with Venice because it's just 30 minutes from here. But I moved like a real move, like that I live in the island 3 years ago. 3 years ago. See. Okay. But I was working also before in Venice because of the distance. But I decided to move here for many reasons. Some it's about the work, some are more about kind of personal decision, and so, but I love Venice. I'm still discovering it. I just bought a small boat.
Oh, really?
And
wow, you're fully committed.
I'm committed, and it's changed a lot since I have a boat, because I can discover in It's a really new way of discovering Venice, the city, but also the lagoon, like around the lagoon.
Well, because I was thinking, coming down the street, I was like, there is thousands of people every day, but it's also one of the smallest, most popular places that I can think of. And I was thinking, like, right, you have, and it's probably one of the most photographed, not by professionals only, but like everyone that comes here,
Sure.
and there's loads of people with their loads of eyes that are looking every corner. And I was wondering, what do you see in Venice that you don't think is usually seen? And maybe it's this marina. Not the marina, scusa. Is it marina? What's it called? The
Laguna?
The laguna.
Sì, the lagoon. Yeah, I mean, so I have to start with a personal story. That is that I think I'm thinking about the right word. I think, scattered the ashes of my mother in the lagoon when she passed away. So since that moment, I felt very connected with the lagoon, the water. It was a very changing of perspective for me, for my personal view.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, as you said, like Venice is like there are too many pictures of Venice, but I mean, it seems that nobody or very few people take picture outside Venice of the lagoon. The lagoon is like all the islands around around Venice, and it's I mean there is the lagoon is very famous in the Mediterranean area because of the birds, for example. It's one of the most important area because of the migration of the birds. Many birds come here in the lagoon. Sometimes also just for just a period of time, that to eat or for reproduction. So they don't stay all the months of the year, but maybe they stop here to go to the north of Europe. There are many stories about the birds that come into the lagoon, and it's amazing. Like I recently collaborated with an ornithologist because I don't know about birds. I can read, I can study, but I don't know so much about birds. So I collaborated with him, and he was telling me, for example, that there is because the birds you can recognize you can track them through there is a kind of a bracelet they have on the legs with
a tag.
Yeah. And there is a network of ornithologists that they communicate. It was telling me that he discovered some birds that came from Ukraine recently because they escaped from the war.
Really?
Yeah, and so he didn't know if to communicate with the Ukrainian ornithologist about this, because he was thinking, maybe they have something different to think now. But at the end he communicated, and they were very glad to know about their birds, where they were their birds. But it's amazing if you think that this happened like a bit like there is something similar to humans that escape from a country. Also if they have no borders like us, no? So I was very impressed about this story and other stories. And so in the lagoon many things are happening, but are not really told, no? So
I saw your project. I saw it in camera at Torino.
Sì.
I remember I saw you work on I got it written down, the Barena.
Sì.
What is the Barena specifically?
The Barena is a kind of a mud island that is created from the rivers that arrives to the lagoon. They bring with themselves like many things, no? And so these things that arrives with the river, like mud, this island, they create these islands that in these islands kind of many different plants grow, and these birds find a kind of a place where to stay. And this barene, that I don't know the right word in English, I think it's marshes maybe.
Could be,
yeah, I don't remember, so it could be. So these are very important for the lagoon because they stop the pollution coming into the lagoon.
Well, how do they stop it?
Just
This is by like a wall.
see, like
Mud.
exactly, see, or for example, also pieces of something that they stop before arriving into the lagoon, and also because of flora and fauna.
Yeah. Flora and fauna, I think.
Yeah, they find somewhere to grow and to find protection. So, but they are these balene now are in danger because for commercial purposes, there was an excavation down, for example, for big boats or for big cruises. So they escape. They did
like
an excavation.
So they took out, no? So they caved
Exactly.
to make space for the big boats.
Yeah.
But this is a problem in Venice usually, no?
Yeah.
There's a whole...
Also for these these balene are not. There is a problem of fragmentation.
Yes, maybe, yeah.
Of this balene.
Fragmentation because they split.
Yeah, they split. In the camera, the project I exhibited at camera was about. We had to collaborate with an archive that is called Alinari. That is one of the most old and famous archive in Italy. It's from Florence. Our mission was to make a work with their archive. So I mixed my pictures of balene. So the project is called Una Barena Intera, that is like one barena, like one mud island, yeah. Because my mission was to bring one marsh to camera, like an entire marsh to camera.
Like a little ecosystem.
See, exactly, yeah. My idea was that. And then, I mean, this was a long project, but thanks also to the ornithologist and this association that is called We Are Here Venice, that is working with a scientific approach on Venice. I understood that the birds are very important to understand the health of the ecosystem of the lagoon.
Okay.
And so I discovered in this Salinari archive a series of 2 centuries ago, 1890, a series of birds photographed in a studio, like diorami. So the photographer recreate the environment of these birds.
Like in a museum.
Like in a museum, see, exactly. So there was this series of pictures, and I collaborated with him to understand which were the best birds to represent the balene and the lagoon. So we choose together the right birds for the exhibition and to represent the balene. But for me, like this was kind of the explanation. But for me, it was also about the boundaries. So a project about boundaries and our definition of boundaries. Like for example, the birds doesn't have boundaries, so they come maybe from Egypt to Venice and then they go to Sweden, but they don't know that they are moving through passport. Yeah, they don't know about this. So, and also the balene doesn't have really boundaries because with high water they change completely, because they go underwater and then they emerge again, so they continuously change. So because at the beginning I was trying to take this entire balena, but I understood that it was impossible because I need maybe 2 hours, and in these 2 hours the balena was changed.
Oh really? So in 2 hours it changes?
Yeah, because it's difficult, it's mud, so I was walking, it's very slow, and taking a picture and then another picture. So, but at the end I understood that it was good not to be kind of perfect, because I was trying to represent something that is not possible to represent. I mean, if you have a drone, you can, but I didn't I wanted to see the details. I have the pictures, just to show you. But, for example, this is one. So, for example, if I was taking the picture from the drone, I was missing, for example, this plastic thing that it was important for me to show, or some this kind of legs of birds. So from a drone, you miss all the details, no? I like this also concept about boundaries.
And how do you think the archive works? Because you put them together, right?
Sí.
Like it's like one piece is the archive image and then your image. How do you see them played with the other? Or why do you put them as one piece?
So I mean, there were different output that I have. Like the first output was the exhibition, So the exhibition is not like this. The exhibition is just one entire barena that is on the floor. So I show you on just to
of course.
to better explain so the idea was to create these little tiles.
I remember.
Or with every tile had a picture. So the public, the visitors, could go around the barena and visit a barena, like if you are in the lagoon, because maybe not. I thought maybe not many people knows what is a barena.
Yeah.
In the wall, we decided to, in the setup of the installation, we put the birds, like if they are over the barena, no? So this is for the exhibition, but then I had to produce this diptych. So the mission of the project was an acquisition from Malinari of our pictures. From the archive.
So they buy the images.
So I had to create something that was okay to take in the archive, that like this kind of diptych. Yeah.
Okay, so it's like a translation of the exhibition.
Also for the catalog, it was difficult to put an entire barena on a small page because you couldn't see anything.
This bringing a whole barena anywhere is becoming very, very difficult. But I think it's interesting the way you made it in low squares, and also the separation does have this weird boundary effect, because you assume that if they're separate, maybe there's a reason. Like for this project, for example, or like when you work in projects, do you just go and start shooting, or do you spend a lot of time thinking about it?
For personal project, I just I don't know. Maybe it always starts. I have different experiences. I think because, for example, with this project, there is no calm after the storm. That is about this Vaya storm. I started from. So I just read the news that they were trying to pick the trees that fell down during the storm.
Okay, well, let's give some context. So this is your new book, right? It's coming as a book, which is called No Calm After the Storm.
There is no calm after the storm.
And for people who are not from Veneto, because I feel like even as an Italian, I didn't know that much about it. And when I was reading actually through your project, it was quite crazy what happened. No? There was a storm in the northeast of Italy, in the mountains. Yeah.
No, exactly. Yeah, it happened 6 years ago, and it was a huge storm, and it was caused by a sirocco wind.
I don't know what sirocco is, a specific type of wind.
Sirocco, it's a wave coming from Africa.
Okay, from the south,
and it's, for example, the high water there was in Venice, the record high water of 5 years ago, 6 years ago, was caused also by sirocco. So it's this wind, and its strongness, it's because of the global warming. So the Mediterranean Sea increased its degrees of 3 degrees in the last years, and this so the sirocco, there was always the sirocco, but now it's stronger because of the global warming. So many storms are because of this increasing of the strongness.
They're getting stronger, no? So every natural force is becoming stronger and stronger. Well, you photographed the floodings in Venice. I remember, I think this one, when I started also seeing your work, is when you had these portraits of people. Why do you think of having them all with the water up to the leg? Why was this, you thought about it, or is it because now the portraits have them standing in the water?
There was high water in these days, so
you just were like...
it was like how they were, like, and so there was this big high water, like it was the second strongest high water in Venice. It was like 187 centimeters, so almost 2 meters, and it was like a huge destruction of the stores and the city, and I mean it was something that happened just in the 60s before. And so the idea in that case, if my idea was like to represent, because I read a report that was saying that Venice, it was going to be the first city going underwater, like sinking.
Okay.
And I was imagining like that to represent the city like in the future, like where the high water is something normal.
Mm-hmm.
So my idea was like to represent the normality of this thing. So no spectacularization of the event, but more something fragile, the atmosphere that there was in these days in Venice.
Yeah, and then this is quite important for you, the not making not like a spectacular, like a spectacularization, because going back to your book, I read that, and your approach or how you wanted to document what this storm did in the northeast of Italy, no? Because it destroyed something like, how many trees? You were like
14
million trees or something. That was crazy. But I'm interested in why I don't know, why do you want to avoid
spectacularization?
Yeah, I'm just curious.
See, I mean, maybe it's because I think it's easy to create spectacular images in such an event like this, where it's already spectacular, like spectacular in a bad way, but spectacular. I think I need something more than this. I mean, I don't want to see the causes or the effects of something, but I'm more interested in why this is happening and what this is gonna be in some years. And but I think also the kind of journalistic approach, it's completely fine. It's just not my approach. Also, like I think I'm tired, maybe we are tired of all this, like all the newspaper try always to write this big title that impress you because you have to click or to like, and you have to also create some discussion. So this is the mission. So I try to go in the other way, like that is the opposite, like something calm that it doesn't impress you, or maybe at the first moment, but maybe it's something that you can go deeper. For example, I love the Zone of Interest movie.
Yeah.
This is, I think it's a good example of what I like. That is, the movie. It's about Auschwitz, but this family that lives close by Auschwitz, and you never seen Auschwitz. You just see Auschwitz maybe sometimes in the background, in the sound, and this is strong. No, it's maybe, I don't know if it's stronger than a movie where you see what was happening in Auschwitz, but it's because you already know what was happening in Auschwitz. And this, I think, I'm always speaking about myself, it's impressing me in the stomach, but also in the head. And I think the spectacularization of an event, usually it impressed me in the stomach, but it's just an impression that lasts for not a really long time, maybe for just a few minutes. I click, I share, but I appreciate something that, I mean, the Zone of Interest, it's always with me. It's in my mind, in my brain. I always think about this movie many times.
What do you think that really? So you think is the approach that really, so the way they did it, that really made it stick to your head?
I mean, maybe because I see a lot of images. Maybe like you, maybe we are in this world of visual images and videos, and so maybe we take care when we see an image. So maybe I feel that I'm tired of the usual things. Also, for example, to give another example, I was speaking with Sea-Watch, the crew of Sea-Watch, the boat that goes to save migrants in the Mediterranean, because we are collaborating, and so I was trying to think another way to represent this, because it's sad to say, but how many times we see a boat with migrants and they are all the same. I am saying this sadly, like they are all the same, and so the feeling is like you see one from today or one from 2 years ago, and it's kind of the same image. and I think we are a bit bored, sadly, about these images, and they doesn't impress us anymore or me anymore. So maybe we need to find other ways to tell this story that is, of course, important to tell. No?
Yeah, I mean, I think your project, I think it probably connects to the examples you're putting. It's more about I didn't think. It's like, oh, I didn't think about that. To me, when I see these things, right, I feel like when I see your work, and we'll go more into it now, because it's, for example, the beetle that you talk about. And there's like, I didn't even think about the beetle. So like there is this thing that I don't know, there's basically this not parasite. It's like a beetle that is an invasive species that takes over in part also and makes the whole situation of the storm that had happened in Italy worse. But I feel like when we're talking about the zone of interest or these images you're talking about in the Mediterranean, usually is like there's something usually is when I'm like I didn't think about that, and for zone of interest is like, oh, I didn't think. So I don't know. You see a part of reality that you didn't think about for me. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, is this family that goes on and there's this horrible thing happening? In the background, like, oh, okay, I didn't think. Of course. Then it becomes obvious. It's like, oh yeah, of course there is that. And I think the same. I see what you mean with like tragedies happen around the world, and we put a lot of weight and responsibility on how to show someone else, especially that is suffering. And I think that is quite hard. And I think, yeah, I mean, I feel like photographing someone else, even when they're fine, is already quite a responsibility sometimes. No, maybe not, I don't know.
No, exactly. It's a responsibility, and also I feel that one question that I ask to myself is, have I have the right to take a picture of this? I don't know, it's a question. And then also, I don't want to have an aggressive approach that try to have a reply or an answer from who see this image. I mean, how you say, like, for example, if you show a tragedy, you expect that from the other side, the viewer have to do something, and you as the viewer feel guilty because you feel uncomfortable about the situation that you don't know how to react, and I feel it's not very fair. It's not a fair relationship, and I don't like this.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
So
do you think a lot about how the viewers, or do you just do whatever you would like to see? Do you see what I mean? Like, do you think a lot about how the viewers are gonna think about it or perceive it? Do you care a lot in that sense? Or?
Sí, sure. I mean, I do my work to make books, to make exhibition, to make publication.
Of course, yeah.
And of course, someone is gonna see, and I don't like that someone is not understanding it. So maybe it's a limitation of what I do that I try to kind of explain, to describe. But I feel I don't want to be too conceptual. It's my way. I mean, of course, there are many ways, and everybody is feel free to. But I also in my book that you can see here, there is a lot of text. I could remove all the text. It was better, like visually, it was going to be better if I remove all the text, like just using images. But we decided with the editor, the publisher, because it was important to understand the pictures. They have a function. It's not just aesthetic, also because I collaborated with a scientific university, the University of Padua, and every picture has a meaning. So maybe I'm boring. I'm if I do this, but this is the way I feel that it's important to show.
Yeah, no. I was saying that because you mentioned you were saying like, oh, I don't want the viewer to feel guilt, and then maybe I thought like, oh, maybe you have an idea of what you would like the viewer to feel.
I mean, I would like not to give an answer and not to ask anything. I'd like to to show something that I saw and to give my synthesis or what I think it's a synthesis of my research. This is my mission. Like not to. I mean, I'd like to create question maybe more than give answers or ask for a reaction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. When did you started? It's been a few years, no? You did it for a long, how many years?
It's now it happened 6 years ago, and I started a few months later, so it's 5 years, or something that I work on this project. And the question you asked before, how I started, this started from a news that I read. I wasn't interested to take the picture of the millions of trees that fell down, because if you search storm Vaya, there are millions of pictures of the tree that fell down. But I read this news that the University of Padua was doing a test with dynamite.
I say, Mr. Dynamite. What was it? What did I hear? Is that the real name? Is that how they call it?
The real name is Coppe, but this guy is the guy who also made the explosion of Ponte Morandi, the Morandi Bridge, that is a bridge that fell down in Genova.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
And they had to rebuild the bridge, and so they had to do the explosion, but really, of course, in the most precise way possible. So he is kind of considered the most famous.
But they call him Mr. Dynamite.
They call it Mr. Dynamite, and they call him to make the paths of this forest free from the trees. And the University of Padua, doing some research, understood that the explosion were a good way to do it, because the trees become again little pieces of wood that they come back to the earth. So they understood it was the most ecologist way to do it.
Interesting, because usually you wouldn't connect dynamite
and ecology.
With ecology, but
and so I was interested in this. When I read this little news in a newspaper, I say, this could be interesting to go to see. I went there, and then when I was there, I met the director of TESAF, that is a department of the University of Padua that studied the consequences of the Vaya storm. And he told me about many projects and researches they were doing about the causes and the consequences of this storm in the lab, but also outside. So I thought this is very interesting, and they were very kind and open to show me everything. He put me in contact with all the researchers, and it was amazing. And also because, as you were saying, maybe the biggest problem now it's this beetle.
But is it from a different country? Is it invasive species? But
no, it was already existing in the trees, but the tree can protect himself. But because many trees fell down, or also the trees that didn't fall down are now more fragile because of the storm. So the beetle has more power, and they are reproducing themselves, and they are attacking the trees and making them die. So he was telling me about this and the avalanches now without the trees.
There's more risk of avalanches. No?
More risk of avalanches, he told me kind of many things that I could follow, and I decided in the same time I didn't really wanted to focus on the victims of the storm, but I was really interested in how the community the relationship of the community with the nature and the forest, and so I decided to go to read about the local legends. And one thing that I think it's kind of important for the project, it's one image of the Om Salvarek, that is this guy, because he's dressed in it's in Italian it's Lycopodio, the plant. I think it's Lycopodium because it's this Om Salvarek that is like the wild man, the translation. It's like it connects the community with the forest. So the wild men say the secrets of the forest to the community. And they have this event every year where they celebrate the Om Salvarek.
When does it happen?
In April, but not every year, because if you see the dress they make with this Lycopodium, it's not very green.
Because it's plants, no? It's like, is it live?
Sì,
fresh plants, basically.
exactly. So when they see there is not enough lycopodium in the forest, they keep the old costume.
Okay.
And I thought this was telling a lot about their relationship with the forest. They also asked me, "Oh, do you want us to color it with spray in green?" But
Yeah, to look it good, not like a good green,
Yeah.
bright green.
but I say no. I mean, for me, it's important because of this. So that shows a lot how they feel about.
Yeah, it's symbolic also, no?
the
It means
forest.
that they don't have. Because I feel like that's why seeing all the images is like is the repercussion of. No, it's like watching the effects, but in things that, as I say, like I wouldn't think. And it's quite interesting that you go and look at the culture of the, because of course you're doing something very scientific. Well, it's like it starts very scientific, and you work with the university, and it's, I don't know, there's something I find very interesting about how you, because you're at the end, again, your work is also between the art and photography as a form, is between the science and the art.
Sì, sì, sì.
Why was it for you important? Because you have all these portraits of the local, it's like a costume, right? Like characters.
These are in Rivamonte a Gordino, that is in Belluno, and it's one of the most affected communities from the storm. And they have this tradition of mask. They are called Olt da Riva. So instead of representing the victims, like the destruction of the stores and the shops and the houses, I wanted more to understand from them their feeling about forest and their relationship with nature.
Do you talk to a lot of them?
Yeah, of course. And also there is this text that you see two texts.
Yeah.
That one is small, that is kind of the caption of what you see in the image, and the other text that is a bit bigger, it's kind of a poetic, it's kind of the voice of the Om Selvarek. So yeah, there is this mixture of kind of poetic, and it's written by Cosimo Bizzarri. So there is this mixture of scientific and poetic, but also you see my image, but also microscope image, or satellite image, or postcards, because I felt that the stratification of the languages, it's kind of important to, it gives you, I think, a wider perspective of what happened, and that it didn't involve at all just the trees. It involved all the insects, it involved the people, it involved the environment, so the beetles, so it's from microcosm to macrocosm, everybody is affected. And it's not just in a bad way. I mean, because for example, they discovered that in this community, because of the paths are not more available, the streets, some wolves came.
I didn't know there were wolves also.
The wolves came to have repair under the felled trees. So they have, with the little wolves, they stay there because there is a reparation and there are no humans going there. So it's more complex than just trees down. And I feel that mixing all these languages could help maybe to go deeper in the subject.
So for you, they are different visual languages, or like?
Sì. Yeah. I mean, from postcards to microscope images, insects.
But even the microscope images are quite artistic. You can see your eye. No, I think. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but like it's quite interesting because the microscopic ones are quite. It's like an abstract piece, and then the portraits are quite head on.
And the postcards are used because during these years I found that the community is using the postcards to see how was the landscape before Vaia storm. So it's interesting for me to show, like if you don't know this landscape, I'm gonna show you, but through the postcard. And then they are interesting for me because they are black and white pictures but colored with hands, by hand. And it's interesting because if you enlarge them a lot, you see that it's not perfect. It's just kind of colors, and it seems more kind of an illustration for me. It's like a kind of a wonderful word
Yeah,
no?
yeah,
Like
me-
the postcard, like it's okay. The world has it if it's perfect, no?
yeah,
And also it's speaking about tourism that there are in these areas. You know, postcard is the symbol of tourism, or it was the symbol of tourism, and the tourism had many damages because of the storm, of course.
yeah.
So it's a way for me to tell all these things.
I think it's the fact that you're local, no, because you're Veneto, and I feel like you also probably that gives you, you know the people, you know the right people, and you know how to move around. And it's interesting to see. Yeah, I don't know, that contrast also with Venice. There is again very, I don't know, like again this the contrast with the very touristic, and it feels like you really, of course, you really care about the local issues, which I think is interesting. Is that something that you always had, or you? Because I think like a lot of photographers probably think like, oh, I wanna get, because I'm from a small city, so I'm like, I think maybe at the beginning I was like, oh, I wanna photograph all the parts, and people go and fly, and they go somewhere exotic, and is this something you always thought is like, okay, I really love where I live, or I don't know, do you have any thoughts about that?
See. I mean, I think like also Ghirri, for example, was saying that in these lessons, at the university, he was saying that it's important for him like to have a social approach, but also personal approach. And I feel that both are important. I mean, what I mean is, I want to say something that I think could be important for the people, but I also want to feel them personally. And this, as you say, I did a lot of work in the northeast of Italy, that is areas where I was going when I was a child, or when I am living, because I know them. I feel a connection that is stronger than, I mean, I have memories, I have connection, I have, so yeah, I like, I think I need both personal connection and also a kind of a social perspective that for me it's important to say, to represent.
Do you ever find it difficult to photograph things that are local, or that you grew up with, because they're almost, I feel like the things you grew up with are almost invisible? Do you see what I mean?
I understand. I understand, but I think there are many contradictions in this area that I know, because I was living here and I ate many things of this place and in this area. But I'm also attracted about these contradictions, because it's something that I always speak about.
What's this contradiction? I didn't understand.
Contradiction.
So I understand contradiction, but I don't. What is the contradiction?
About about the architecture, for example, how the architecture interact with the landscape, or how the behavior of the people. Like, this is a region that is very right wing, and I'm not really in this area. So people maybe don't have a lot of money, but they buy big cars and big houses, and they wanna appear. So these kind of contradictions, like I'm speaking about, that I can see it everywhere, and I feel that I know them very well. Of course, if I go to Qatar, I see many contradictions. But again, it's easy to take a good picture in Qatar. I mean, because it's everything is crazy, and there is no sense of what you see, and so I think it's more kind of subtle, like the contradiction that there are here.
And do you feel like when you come back, there's that? So because you did photograph, no, in Qatar, for the World Cup, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Well, do you feel like when you go out and then you come back, you're like, you see well, you suddenly are like, okay, I never seen this, I never noticed this in, I don't know how to say, like, see it like a foreigner, seeing your own place. That's why I think it's difficult to photograph your own place sometimes, because how do I don't know, things are obvious for whoever is from
I don't know. I mean, I'm thinking it's a good question, but I don't know about if I see. I don't know.
Fair?
I connected always when I take the pictures of someone that is personal. So it's not about visual, it's not about the aesthetic, but it's more about my feeling about that place or that person. And so I don't know if this is a reply, but this is maybe what I feel.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is, and I think I found very beautiful also. Tell me if you don't want to talk about it or you want. The book you did about your mom.
Sì.
Also because I lived in Treviso for a little bit, so I don't know why. I guess there's something there. But the way you were talking about it and these spaces, which again for a lot of people is just, well, you can explain a bit maybe. And
Sì, of course.
What you photographed.
Sì. I mean, 1 year ago my mother passed away, and she was a cleaner. And she was bringing me with her when I was a child to her work. And when I'm living in Venice, but when through the months from the hospital and to after she passed away, I spent a lot of time in Treviso in what was her house and what was my house when I was a child also. And I stopped to work on anything else, and I needed, I felt the need of doing something. So there wasn't a purpose of publishing or anything else. It was just for myself and also for my aunties that kind of we were very close in these months. So I wanted to kind of, I don't know, I felt more to do something, and these were the places where I felt a connection with her, but also I was able to speak because I couldn't go with my camera into private buildings, so I had to ask and maybe to speak with people, explain the story, and maybe some of these people knew my mother, and so they were talking about her. And also from this, I think I was searching some kind of a answer for myself about where I come from, and my mother built. I lived with my mother, and my mother kind of supported my work, my studies, and she built everything from this work, and also kind of my way of work. It's workaholic.
Yeah, workaholic.
Okay, my mother was workaholic, and I think I'm a workaholic, and that is. Can be good, but not so much. It can be have a negative side. Okay. So visiting these places put me somehow. It was kind of a therapy for me, to think about to elaborate what was happening, what happened. Also, maybe it's the way I know to search. It's my kind of. I felt lucky because I had this tool. To understand things. Maybe if I was 20, I didn't have this tool. No, now I'm 40, and I feel that I know how to use this tool to understand things, and I use it. So I just took the picture. I didn't know what to do. But then when there was the anniversary, that was in March, I wanted to give something to my aunties that helped me a lot through these months. So I feel, okay, I put together these images, let's see. So I did this little book, by hand, I printed, and I searched the right paper, the right thing to make the cover and everything. I wrote a text.
Very beautiful, yeah.
Thank you. I did it for them and for some friends that helped me also, so close friends that helped me in this year. Somehow I felt, okay, I wasn't sure about to publish it, to make it public. And then when I gave it to my aunties and to my friends, they were all touched about this thing. They supported me to publish it.
Really?
See, they told me you should publish it because it's a good thing, not just for you and for us, but also maybe for someone else. So I did it, and when I did it, I had a huge feedback from the people. Many people that I didn't know wrote me messages.
Really?
But every day I receive 10 messages from people that I don't know that write me about their father, their brother. See, it's crazy. Like it's very touching for me that this create empathy like through the people. And so from this thing, like many things happened because also like a magazine, Marie Claire, that I collaborated, the photo editor Manuela Mirabelli. We are not friends, but she's a very kind person, and she asked, "Oh, we are very touched about your story. We'd like to publish it." So I wasn't sure about to do it. So I spoke with my aunties.
Like the council.
The council, and they say, "No, you should publish. Your mother will be very proud, and she will buy the magazine." So I did it, and then again from this publication, I had a huge feedback again from people. It became bigger, but also, I mean, many like really. I'm receiving every day emails or messages and things. I'm very impressed. It was born, of course, from it's the most personal thing I ever done, somehow it helped me a lot to understand many things about myself, about my relationship with my mother, about many things. Like really, it was a therapy. It is a therapy. It's so.
Yeah, I didn't think it would create.
I mean, I show you like, because I shared these messages with my aunt because just to share. So I take a screenshot every time I receive messages from like completely strangers. So like this, but so these are all messages.
Wow.
I receive every day. Yeah, I think it's something that connects maybe us somehow, and
and because it's because grief is quite a lonely place at the end, and I think and I mean, to be fair, like I was very moved by both the text and the images, and I think maybe it goes back to what we were saying about subtlety, and I don't know how much you were, of course, like thinking a lot about it or like just instinctively photographing but there's something there where imagination works a lot for we who maybe don't know you personally, but there's something there where the text and the image, and then for me it's like your imagination goes and works, and I think it works beautifully with photography, I think, because of that, and because you can look at these spaces and look at the corners and look at spaces that also people may don't stop again, because we were saying the thing of like, you're going from one place to another in the house, and you don't stop to think too much unless there's works or something, but that then everyone notices when in their block there's something different or
it's true. My idea was also this of like that she created something from places that are kind of normal places that we see every day. So I was really interested to see these places, like to imagine these places with our eyes. So
And since when? So because I know you studied graphic design.
Same.
And since you finishing this project and how you are as a photographer, what do you feel has anything changed that you notice a lot if you look back at how you started in photography?
So you mean if graphic design affected my way of seeing? No.
I mean, I think I can see that. Okay. I can see how I think, but I was meaning more like as that journey, starting with graphic design and ending right now in this project. Is there something you notice in your way of making work that has changed?
Yeah, a lot. Yeah, of course, a lot. But I'm feeling more confident, and more confident also I think I'm a very rational person.
Okay.
And I think I'm a very rational person, and also that's why I like kind of the scientific approach. But in the time I feel more confident to experiment a bit more, like during the time. So I need time, maybe my way of exploring. It's a bit slow. Maybe some people are more faster than me, but for me it's like big steps of like feeling less limitation of visual representation.
Okay.
Um,
For example, sorry, experimenting, no? Is that what you're talking about?
See, like for example, the Barene thing, no? Like for me, it was maybe my most experimental project. Like that, if I explain, you can understand, but if you just see the images, maybe you don't really understand what they are. So I speak about this like when I'm telling this. You know, I don't know if it's clear or not.
Yeah, I think I'm understanding that sometimes you do things that are a bit abstract.
See, I mean,
So abstract, and I mean it in
see, that is not. I mean,
obvious. It's not obvious.
See, okay.
No.
See.
And that I think but I think that's what I like about your work is that there's images that is like, okay, there's great portrait, and then there's an image that's like that throws me off in a good way, I think. And so there's the picture of the beetle, and I'm like, okay, and maybe I thought, I haven't seen this photograph this way, and I do think that it keeps that, I don't know, like it keeps interesting also visually. And is it because you have fun doing it, or is it because you have you need to do something new?
Yeah, I have a lot of fun. I have a lot of fun. I think also I'm bored about my pictures, and so I need to don't feel bored about them. And I think it's because I'm bored to see my pictures and to the same representation all the time, and maybe I guess that's why I try to do more steps. No, see, maybe if we come back to the discussion we had before, like I like to think about a new way of seeing things, like we spoke about the zone of interest, to other perspective to see the same thing. Because there are many projects on the Via Storm, like really many. Since 5 years, it was a huge thing.
Yeah.
So what I like to do is to search to a new way to represent this what was happening.
And what's the last shoot you did for this project?
The last shoot.
The last thing you photographed.
I think was the Om Salvarek.
Oh really?
Sì.
Oh wow, because it seems like such a core. No, like an important piece.
Yeah, but it was a project that in 5 years has like a period of nothing or a period of a lot of activities. I was taking picture every day, and then I didn't have the chance to. Also, in 5 years I took many pictures that are not in the book. I also took the picture of the victims, of the stores, destroyed houses and everything. But then I decided not to put in the final. I wasn't it. So it was also a way for me to learn how I want to represent this. And during this process, I think was important. I discovered about the Om Salvarek, and so I thought, this is important to represent.
And when do you photograph that?
I think it was 1 year ago. 1 year ago.
And in terms of editing?
It changed a lot, because at the beginning it was more chronological, the narrative, from how was the landscape before, the destruction, the storm, and then also with Cosimo Bizzarri, that is the writer. I think all the text of my project are by Cosimo. We are very good friends. Also the football project.
He has the monopoly.
The monopoly on everything. He helped me a lot in the years, having another perspective. He was the editor of Colors magazine.
In Fabrica.
10 years ago, or maybe 12 years ago. In Fabrica. And so he pushed me a lot to mix things, not to have a narrative that is chronological.
Yeah.
And also in this case, at the beginning was very chronological, very didactic. And then we mixed, we tried, and we mixed it again. and then I had to stop and then to see it again. So it was a long process, really. Also, it helped me a lot to maybe to stop sometime and to see more after a few months, and then to delete images. So I don't know if I
I think that's
replied,
I think it's the good answer. So I think, it's interesting how it develops and changes. And before you mentioned you used to do some work for Colors magazine.
See, I mean, that's how I met Cosimo. So, I mean, I was really at the beginning of taking picture. I was still kind of going out from graphic design work, but I worked with migrants with an NGO called Emergency, and in Italy. So, Colors magazine made a book about migration, an issue about migration, not in Italy but everywhere. But there was one chapter of that issue that was about Italian migration, because from Africa there are the roots of migration. Because I had this connection with Emergency that I was working, and they work also in Italy, so they involved me in the issue, and we did a lot of research with Cosimo about why the migrants come to Italy, what they do in Italy. So we did kind of Colors was working as a kind of instruction for some guide for something. So it was kind of a guide for a migrant that come to Italy. So there are these routes, like one in the south that is more working in agriculture. In the north there are more factories. In the middle, in the center of Italy, it's more about the coast and working in the beaches and tourism, these things. So that's how I started to know them and collaborate with them.
So you get very involved. So because I thought maybe when you get asked to take these pictures, it was more like, okay, you go here and photograph. But it sounds like you get very...
That was a real research, and then also there was an interview. I didn't make the interview. I made the connections. Like there was this migrant from Senegal called Ousmane. He was living in a ghetto in Calabria or Puglia, where there are these fields where the migrants work like as a slave. Like
the tomato fields
or oranges field. He was working there, and I met this guy called Osman. Like he was working all day in the fields for nothing, and in the evening he was reading like a book about science and physics, and he knew 6 languages. So we met this guy, and Emergency, they give him a job as a mediator.
Like translator.
He's more than translator, because
it's also cultural.
It's a cultural.
Okay, mediator.
Okay, I understand your needs. So they hired him.
Oh wow.
Okay. So it was a big story, and so in this issue of Colors there is an interview to him, because he has a kind of wide perspective on the issue of migration in Italy.
And was that so? Do you remember your first commission?
My first photography commission? Yeah, it was in 2017, and it was about from Pagina 99, that is a weekly magazine that doesn't more exist. And it was about in Italy. It was still about migration. Migration for me, it's one of the topics that are more, I feel more involved. In Italy, they made a law, because there is, I don't know how to call it, but there is this topic of migration, also the politics.
Yes.
One of the main topic in every election in Italy is the migration. Also, if in Italy, if you see the percentage of migrants that come to Italy, or that Italy welcome, it's nothing compared to other countries in Europe. Anyway, there was this law 2017 that every province, every town has to add to host some migrants in the percentage of the population.
Okay.
So if you have 100 inhabitants, you should host 1 migrant, something like this.
Okay.
Very low percentage. Very low. And they were putting these migrants in old military buildings that are not used. And so in Abano Terme, that is in Padova, it's a very touristic area where many tourists from Germany, Austria were coming to have sauna, terme, spa, these kind of things. So in Abano Terme, that is this little town, but famous for this, they were going to bring migrants in this we call caserma, that is this building, military building, and all the owners of the hotels and the terme and the spa built a camp outside the military thing to stop the migrants.
Okay.
They didn't want to have it in their own town, the migrants. So they built some little houses, temporary houses to be there 24 hours. They had turns to never sleep, actually.
Really?
See. So there were turns of people like blocking the streets for migrants to go there. And they went to take pictures. This was my first assignment too. I went to take picture of these owners, like this, the owners of the hotels.
So the ones that were blocking.
See.
Okay, that's interesting. Because how was that for you? Because probably it's interesting, but because you have to interact with people you disagree with, probably.
See. But I try, of course. Like one of these guy was called. The people call it this guy Benito. Okay,
great.
And of course, I took many pictures of people that I don't agree with, but I think my role is not to judge.
Yeah.
It's to represent. Of course, maybe I can do it with. Just my view. I can say something. How I represent them. I can do it ironically or more seriously, and that's maybe my way to say something.
Yeah.
So also I think contradiction I was speaking about is that I'm from here.
Yeah.
Because I'm from Veneto, I'm kind of one of them. Somehow they don't judge me.
Yeah.
And so I have more access to these people that also if we don't know, we don't have the same idea. So I think this is good for me to have access to these people. Because they say, I'm from Treviso. Treviso is one of the most fascist city in Italy.
Yeah.
So you are a good person.
Yeah, for Benito, yeah. Okay. No, of course I understand that. The job is his job and you have to photograph. And I guess I meant it more since this is the first assignment. Sorry, it's not a light first assignment. I'm go and photograph, I don't know, a building of, I don't know what. It's like a first assignment where you have a very conflictive. That's why I was wondering. Well, I imagine also you were excited for the first assignment. I would be. I don't know.
It was somehow easy because I took portraits of them, but also there are many because they are angry, not because of the migrants, but because there was a crisis, and the people there was less tourism. Many hotels were empty. So I took picture of these empty hotels. So aesthetically was easy because I mixed some portraits with abandoned hotels. So it's kind of easy, I have to say, for as a first assignment. Also, if I see now that it was 2017, so many things are changed in how I see things. But I think it's a picture that I can take now. I don't see so much difference from how I take picture now.
Is it the last one you have on the Instagram?
It's the last one, see.
Yeah.
It's the last one. Yeah. This was Benito.
Yeah, it's the last.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. No, but that's why I ask. I think it's interesting that because at the end it's part of the job and getting into these things and meeting these people and I don't know, and again it's a job and you gotta be professional and okay. Is there anything that you wanted to say maybe about the book that you did that we haven't said?
No, there was an exhibition in Reggio Emilia, Fotografia Europea. The translation from the book to the exhibition was kind of to understand how how to translate it like well, all these kind of layers of visualization. So it was interesting to see. I mean, for me, like we bring to, I show you also if we don't see, but we try to see, for example, like there were these tables in the middle of the space. For example, with this mask from this
the pictures, right?
Yeah, that were from the community. The postcards were printed big, so we could see all these kind of mistakes on the illustrations, and also some pieces of trees that were used for research, and again these were the tree bitten by the beetle. So you can see all the signs. So this was the translation we used in the exhibition. So kind of different layers, but it was important to translate it somehow from the book to the exhibition.
And the book is, when is it out?
I mean, we did a crowdfunding campaign, like to help to producing and printing the book. So the campaign is finished, and now we are just adjusting the last thing with Bruno, that is the publisher and the design studio. And then now we are in July, so then there is August, that is kind of all the people are in holiday. So we are thinking to presenting officially in the beginning of September in the bookstore that is Bruno. So this will be the first presentation, and then of course I hope there will be other presentation around.
That's great. And I think I'll finish with, and I wanted to ask you, how does your personal work then give you, I feel like personal work then gives you commissions from, no? Because you did that book that opens in many ways about Venice and the water. And I feel like from then you get work. And I feel like, no, do you think there's a relation there?
No, of course. Of course. Also from the book for my mother, like I had many commissions from there, because they asked we'd like to have the same feeling also, if it's difficult to have the same feeling, but like visually speaking, I feel there is a connection between the two. I always also, if I, for example, for the New York Times, I had assignment to take a portrait, and usually I have maybe half an hour, 40 minutes, but the representation I try to have, it's not as an half an hour commission, but I try to have to represent the context where we are, for example in Venice, usually of the person I take the picture, and I try to give the feeling that I have a connection with the person that I take a picture of. So I try to avoid this kind of stall image feeling.
What do you mean?
Like the moment, that you steal the moment.
Yeah,
you know?
Like in the movement, no? It's like in the middle. Usually they're always looking at camera.
I like that you can see that we have a relationship, like that he is aware that I'm taking the picture also, because I don't like that there is this mystery that maybe he didn't know that I was taking a picture of him. So I like that this relationship is clear. So.
Cool. Well, I think that's it. Sorry, it's been an hour and a half.
Oh, no worries.
So thank you very much.
Thanks to you.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see the book. So.
Me too.
But that's it. Basta.
Okay.